Hey class, welcome to week 9 of the Structured Information course. Hope everybody is doing well. Let me share my screen over here. This week we're going to be talking about social control and censorship. So last week we talked about misinformation, and this is the complete opposite. This is how information is blocked, how information is censored. Oftentimes when people cannot spread misinformation, they tend to block everything. So before we learn about blocking and everything, hold on, let me start the slideshow. We need to learn about the protocols that govern the internet and what the internet is made up of, and digital components as well. So infrastructure components of internet governance, rules that enable tech from different companies to work together. We have Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, MP3, HTTP. It's things that allow different tools of the internet to work. It's how we connect our phone to our wireless headphones, to our MacBooks, to our cars, and all of that stuff. And all these things have to be up to code and work with each other. Recently, Apple got in trouble in Europe, and I think they have to do it here. They cannot have the lightning cable for the phone. They have to use USB-C, which is weird because some of the MacBooks use USB-C, but they use a lightning cable on the phone. And I think it's sort of a way for you to just buy another cable, but everything should be standard. And now, in Europe at least, the phones will have to be USB-C. And all of these components are behind the scene rules that are established by different engineers, different organizations. We have MP3, we have Bluetooth, whatever number. We have Wi-Fi, different levels. I went to extend my Wi-Fi, and they're like Wi-Fi mesh 6, and they keep increasing, and things like that. Um, Talking about those components, we have BitTorrent. BitTorrent is also a protocol. It's one that allows sharing of packets of information privately that has been largely associated with privacy. So whenever we think about BitTorrent, we think about back in the day, we were downloading things illegally. We could get games, movies, everything on that. And if I save this over here for you guys, hold on. If you're interested about BitTorrent, there's this interesting story on Wired. It's a long story, so I'm not going to mention it. It's the inside story of BitTorrent's bizarre collapse. Right? That's another article for later. Let me go back into sharing the screen. So BitTorrent is not only used for piracy, although that's what it's most known for. 170 million people use the protocol every month, according to the company's website. Facebook and Twitter use it to distribute updates to their servers. Florida State University has used it to distribute large scientific data sets to its researchers. And even the video game company Blizzard Entertainment has used BitTorrent to let players download the World of Warcraft game. Any World of Warcraft players in this class? Any StarCraft players in this class? The company's site boasts that the protocol moves as much as 40% of the world's traffic each day. So not only with piracy, but most known for piracy. I think BitTorrent has kind of went wayside. I know when I was younger, everybody was in the LimeWire days, and we had the BitTorrent, and one of my best friends would always use BitTorrent. It was too complicated for me. He would download the whole albums, the hip hop rap albums, and I would just go on LimeWire and download one song. And we'll talk about it in a few slides how that's not really allowed and how they try to make examples of people. So when we talk about internet protocols and things like that, we have critical resources, we have IP addresses, domain names, we have ASNs, which are basically like IP addresses for large networks. So basically, if you don't know what an IP address is, every single thing in the internet has an IP address. Your computer has an IP address. Your phone has an IP address. Your router, your Wi-Fi, they all have IP addresses, and it's a physical way for people to track you. They mostly start like 192.187 dot something, and it's a way that if something goes wrong or you need help or you do something bad, they can track you. Um, Laptops, all of this is trackable. People have gotten arrested for doing stuff on the computer. They think, hey, I'm on the internet. Especially in the heyday of the internet, when internet first came out, everybody thought there was anonymity because I'm behind the screen and they don't know where I'm at. Sorry, let me go back to that link here for you guys. So I just put IP address arrest, and you can see lots of different articles come up, and they can track you for child porn. A lot of IP addresses are tracked for that. Let's see. Soliciting a minor for sex. Student arrested for bomb threat at senior center. So yeah, everything is trackable. There's ways, we'll talk about that, ways to hide your IP address, but if you do something really bad, there's computer researchers and engineers who will find out where you were. It takes time, but they can do it. It's a whole bunch of threats and sexual things that people get caught for with their IP address. So how do you hide your IP address? You can use a VPN. If you don't know what a VPN is, a VPN is a virtual protected network, and basically it sort of pings you to be somewhere else. I have a video here, so we'll watch that.
You probably heard of a VPN before. It's even possible you've used one before. But do you know what it does? A VPN stands for Virtual Private Network, which basically means it gives you privacy online. Originally, VPNs were only used in business settings where big businesses, organizations, or governments wanted to secure their data. Since people worked remotely and needed to connect online, businesses needed to create a secure connection. Otherwise, they were at risk for hacking or other loss of data. Nowadays, VPNs are used by everyone, specifically because it ensures your location stays private, your data is encrypted, and that you can surf the web anonymously. But how does it work? Let's back up for a second to understand how the internet works. When you visit a site like Facebook or Twitter, you type in the domain name. That domain is basically a nickname for the website's IP address. An IP address is just like your home address, only it consists of numbers and not street names. Since it's much easier to remember names than a string of numbers, we give websites domain names and a server translates them. Your computer has an IP address too, and so does every device browsing the internet. When you type in the website's domain name on your browser, whether you're using Chrome, Firefox, or even Internet Explorer, you send your data into the internet until it reaches a server. That server then translates the data and sends you back the website you requested. The problem is, when you send that data to the server, you're sending them your IP address and a lot of other information too. This is where hackers can intercept your information. Imagine you're sitting in a coffee shop using their public Wi-Fi on your phone and you want to check your bank account. Someone else with a laptop can easily log into the network and get a hold of your passwords, emails, and other information you might have. But if you use a VPN, they won't be able to access that. The websites you visit
should
can
never
also
log
gather
into
your
your personal
information,
stuff
but they tend to
on
do it in
public
order to
Wi-Fi's.
study their demographic. Usually, it's not a
Facebook,
problem,
Instagram,
but
or peers, right?
sometimes
Bank
you want to
accounts, and then
protect your identity and privacy. So how does a VPN protect my privacy? When you send information online, a VPN creates a tunnel that encrypts your information. This way, if someone gets a hold of your data, they won't be able to read it. The tunnel also makes it harder to hack in, but don't be fooled. It is still possible, just much harder to do. A VPN also adds in an extra server. We spoke about how you send data from your computer to a server, and then that server pings you back with the website. But with VPN, your data goes to their server first, and then it's sent out to the website. This extra step helps in a lot of ways. First, it can change your location. A lot of video streaming websites like Netflix and Hulu have strict content depending on your geolocation. Let's say you want to watch your favorite show on Netflix, but it's not available in your country. You send your information to one of the VPN servers in America, and then that server sends it to the Netflix website. Netflix now thinks you're in America, and you can stream your show without any problems. A VPN tricks
one
them
of the
into
most
thinking you're in a different
ways or reasons
location
why I
because
use
the
VPN. I'm
signal
going
is
to show you
coming from a
VPN on my
different
phone.
server. Clever, right? Changing your location can also be helpful when booking a hotel or flight. Research has shown that hotels and flight prices change depending on your location, and a VPN could potentially save you lots of money. But let's get back to your privacy. Remember how we mentioned websites sometimes collect your data? Well, many times governments can request this information and use the listed IP addresses to track your location. But with a VPN, their information only reaches the VPN server. They can't track you back to your original IP address. See how cool that is? Many VPNs also have a no logs policy, which means they don't record what sites you visit. So if the government requests a VPN provider for tracking logs, your information won't be there. VPNs are really handy when it comes to keeping your privacy safe on the web. By changing your location, encrypting your data, and ensuring your privacy, it's no wonder so many people use them these days. Now that you know what a VPN is, it's time to go get one. Click on the link to see our top VPNs or click the
One example is when I'm overseas and I can't watch HBO, Game of Thrones. I've said this many times. I use a VPN, but another time, there's different rules about what can be broadcast in different countries, especially with Netflix. They had the show Homeland, and I was binging it. I was on the last season, and I came home. The Homeland was not on Netflix, and I didn't want to pay for Showtime, so I just used a VPN to the country I was in before, and I got to watch the last episode. So here's a VPN right here. You just click connect. It asks you to pay or for free. I'm going to do the free server with ads, but what you can also do is you can change the country that you want to log into, and you can see the strength here. You can see all the countries that they have you can log in from. So let's say I wanted to do, well, they kind of make you buy all of them with the pro. But if you pay for the pro, which is like $10 a month, you can do any country. For free, I can pick Canada, and it's connected, and you can see the upload and download speed. And there's a bunch of free VPN tools. There's ones for casual users like me, and there's ones for people who are doing like more complicated stuff as well. All right. So how do we get from an IP address to website name? We saw that in the video. We need a domain name service, a DNS. It translates the IP addresses to the names, and they help with trademark. One of the big things in the early days of the internet was people were registering domain names that were going to be popular, and they were making money off of it. So voice.com, this was not last year, this was 1 years ago. Voice.com was sold for $30 million. There's a whole niche of people who would resell domain names, and people still do this. They don't get millions or thousands of dollars as they did before, but they'll get a couple hundred here, a couple thousand there. They'll look for something new or something that's popping, something that's a new artist, new clothing brand, and they'll register it. I'm trying to think who's like, let's say Central C, he needs a website, right? He's a rapper from the UK. They'll do like Central C, and they'll do all the abbreviations, and they'll register all the domain names, and these people have to buy, when he becomes like really famous and wants a website, they have to buy the domain names from these people. Also, a lot of political things, they do that. They register every abbreviation of Donald Trump, Trump campaign, Trump 2024, and then when the political campaigns want to have that address, they need to buy them. One of the interesting things that I saw when I looked this up was that Anguilla in the Caribbean. So, because certain countries have they don't have .com, they have a dot whatever. And so Anguilla has .ai, and because of some weird internet protocol rules, a lot of the companies that are doing artificial intelligence, they want to use that .ai for their website address, and the island of Anguilla collects $50 a year fee from anybody that uses that address. And so in 2018, Anguilla garnered $2.9 million just from websites using the .ai suffix on the internet address. All right, let's go back to the slides. So one thing with the internet, with the DNS, there's such thing as a DNS attack. They hack into a DNS network and switch the IP and domain names. After the backlash to WikiLeaks, if you don't know what WikiLeaks is, you can Google that. There were some leaks of cables, had some international cables, secret cables, correspondence that said a lot of secret things. The anonymous hacker group performed DNS attack on Amazon, PayPal, and Visa, MasterCard for pulling support for DNS. So DNS attack is not to be confused with a DNS DDoS attack. And that's when you send so many packets of information or so many requests that it literally floods the site and it crashes. And these are all things hackers do to stop websites, stop you from accessing them. And it sounds like a whole bunch of hacker mumbo jumbo, but in this day and age, this is a big deal. You know, if you want to go to chase.com and the site is down, if you're in a country that's protesting and you want to research a site to see what's going on, a news site, if it's down, that's crucial. So this is a lot of things that all sides are doing to sort of take away our access to the information. And it's a quick video here about a DNS attack.
The domain name services are a critical part of our IP networking.
So I'm going to pause this here. I'm going to give it like 5 seconds to 10 seconds. You guys can look at the name, who made this video, and look at it at your own time. That way it's not blurry, and you can watch it at your own leisure. All right, we need to be mindful of governments, organizations, and big tech's role in managing and setting up these protocols. Companies like Google, Facebook, and Apple can make the rules that benefit them and not the small guys. These companies have billions of dollars in lobbying money to make the rules, to fight legislation in different countries and in this country as well. Hearings with Congress and all that stuff they fight. They do things that benefit them. Sort of like going back to the thing with the lightning cable. They changed it from lightning when they should use USB-C, which is the standard. And that little fix saves them tons of money, just like how now Apple doesn't include the cables when you buy the phone, the chargers. Piracy. One of the biggest issues with the internet and these protocols is how to stop piracy. Because we talk about information, who owns information and stuff like that. Piracy is a big issue with thousands, billions, millions of dollars are lost every day to things being put on the internet. Back in the day in the internet, we had Kim.com and Mega Upload. Do you guys remember Mega Upload? This is what it used to look like. This is the founder. He's currently in New Zealand fighting extradition to the US. He got arrested for putting all and violating copyright infringement. And I remember, like, I don't know if I was in college or late high school, Mega Upload was the site where you would get everything. You could literally put any album. You could put like Kanye West, late registration, Mega Upload, and you'll find tons of zip files to give you the albums. And one day you could find movies, you could find everything in Mega Upload. And one day when we went Mega Upload, we got this image here. And there's a lot of other sites that have that are taken down have this warning on it. So some countries can limit or ban your internet usage if you repeatedly violate copyright laws and download illegally. So the problem with the internet nowadays is that we're so used to getting everything for free. We assume that everything is free, right? We think that I think it's kind of changed now with your generation where we're used to Spotify paying monthly for Spotify or paying monthly for Apple Music. And I think that was a response to sort of my generation before where we had everything for free. We just had to do some research for it. LimeWire, Mega Upload. We were used to getting any movie, anything for free, that we thought it was for free, but it wasn't for free. When an artist puts out music, they have a copyright on that music and they make money. Think about if you were a musician and you put out an album, how much time and effort went into that. You don't want people downloading for free and not getting anything from it. So my generation was sort of like everything is free. There's no laws governing that, but there is. And so when these LimeWire, Napster, and all these services started to come out, the companies were getting tough. I remember they sent this little girl, I think it was a 9-year-old girl, they sent her a letter. Oh, we're gonna charge you millions of dollars because you downloaded music. So the problem, going back to more technicality of these programs, was that when you had LimeWire, there was two ways. You could upload and you could share. You could download and up and share. So let's say I had the new Slim Shady CD and I put it in my computer. You have to uncheck share because that could be uploaded and anybody on the internet who had the same program could download it. And so you could be copyright infringement millions of times if everybody uploaded the album. As long as the technicality for this, as long as you didn't upload, you were fine. Downloading was looked the other way until they combated it. But as long as you didn't share, you were okay. So that one way the big music companies, Columbia Records, Def Jam, all these companies were pissed off. They were sending letters to people, hey, you can't be downloading. They were putting pressure on the internet companies like Verizon, AOL, and stuff like that, and making examples out of individual people to scare you. So I remember one time my brother was downloading some movies, and what was the Time Warner sent the letter to our house? We're gonna shut down your internet if you stop doing that. I think where we're at now, what we have is a healthy balance where we don't have to download for free, because if we pay $10 a month for Netflix, $10 a month for Spotify, we get everything we want unlimited there. We don't have to worry about scalping it illegally. Although now we do have the Fire Stick and people still do it, but it's less so than before. Here's an example that was made of a Bronx man. I tried to follow up with this and see if he actually went to jail, but I could not find any articles about it. But what he did was he bought a bootleg copy of the Wolverine, I think it was Wolverine, and put it in his computer, and he didn't click off that share button, and the movie was downloaded. Let's see, it was a month before the movie came out. They said it was downloaded a number of times by everybody. I'm trying to see if it says how many times. Well, however many times they try to make an example of him, the FBI threatened him with jail time. I don't know if he actually went to jail, but this was the sort of examples they were making in this day and age in that time. Like, hey, don't discourage people from downloading. But you know, I was talking to my friend who does a lot of music journalism. How could they ever stop illegal downloading? They can't. All these BitTorrent sites, all these mega upload sites, all these sites that hold all these free movies. I don't know if you ever found these websites that have every movie for free. I know one of my students told me about one of these websites that has every book for free. They get shut down all the time, but they come back not even a day later because everything is downloaded in a server somewhere or micro drive somewhere else. They upload it and then they just change the name. If it was freetvshows.com, then it's freetvshows.io or free TV shows with a Z dot zzz or dot whatever. They just change it and they put it back online. It cannot be stopped. But like I said, the things that we have now sort of made it so that we don't do that anymore. Netflix and Spotify and those streaming services. Not to say that people don't. But going back, one more thing before we move on, I feel like Spotify and Netflix and those streaming services put out the bootleg DVD guys. Remember the bootleg DVD guys that would sell albums in front of the barbershop or on the train or the bus? Like those guys don't exist anymore because we have the streaming services. Moving on. So the Department of Homeland Security is in charge of putting an end to bad domain names. These bad domain names sell counterfeit goods. They allow music streaming. They allow us to stream pay-per-view sporting events, UFC, WWE, boxing, and stuff like that. So people always put out these bootleg names and they find it and they shut it down. But like I said, it comes back again. Nike, in order to combat the bootleg selling of their counterfeit goods, they went after these websites. Let's see here. And this happens all the time. It's from 2018, but I don't know the websites now, but they always take them down. When I was in high school, I remember I bought the Jordan 8s, the Fire Reds, but they were blue. They said they were factory variants. They were good quality, but they were not real. They were not officially produced. They just selling bootleg stuff, and the website was like Nike swoosh check.com. They play with the words very closely. And you look at this model here, if you're a sneakerhead, you know that this doesn't exist. Air Max Jordan does not exist. And so in order to stop the counterfeit goods, they shut down these domain names. But again, they pop up all the time. Again, it can never be stopped. We have hacked Fire Sticks. I remember, I don't want to say COVID times because we're still in COVID times, but let's say peak COVID. What is it? Disney Plus was charging to watch the movies like Milan and stuff. My cousin, my brother was like, we're not paying $30. And he had the hacked Fire Stick, found Mulan, perfect quality. That's it. You can always stream things illegally and it's getting easier for us to do. Moving on, talking about the same thing. Information wars. We'll go back to that. Sorry, that slide was supposed to be later on. Another big issue with internet protocols is a shutdown. So when misinformation doesn't work, people stop the internet. They literally can pull the plug or stop websites in certain countries. After the 2009 Iran presidential election, the country stopped access to certain sites like YouTube and Twitter. And I think now with their current protest, they're doing the same thing as well. In 2011, Egypt went even further. They actually pulled the plug on the entire internet. Nothing worked. They had no internet. So what did people do? They went to neighboring countries to buy SIM cards that would work in their country. It was spotty service, but they needed it. In this day and age, people don't have walkie-talkies. People don't have pigeons sending notes. People don't have telegraph. How are they going to get information? If you're protesting and you're planning, oh, we're going to go to the presidential palace, everybody, how will you get in contact with each other without mobile or internet networks? This is a crucial service. It happens all over the world all the time. When I was traveling in Indonesia, they had some election and they stopped. I went on Instagram. Instagram was not loading. I had to use a VPN to use it. So could it happen here? Could they pull the plug or access information for the internet? It would be super, super rare if that happens. I think there'll be a lot of backlash. I would compare it back in the day if they stopped the news, the channel, the nightly news that we talked about that was the staple of information, or they stopped our telephones from working when we had the house phones. It could happen based on the laws that they have set up here. The Communications Act of 1934, which has been amended and updated several times, is an 86-year-old law that is still the framework for U.S. communication policies today. Section 706, who knows how many sections this thing has. It allows the president to shut down or take control of any facility or station for wire communication, which could be the internet, if he proclaims there exists a threat of war involving the United States. With respect to wireless communications, suspending the service is permitted not only in the war of a threat or war, but because of state of public peril or disaster or other national emergency. There is no requirement in the law for the president to provide any advance notice to Congress. This is pretty scary. And I think the closest we ever got to this was late in the stage during the Trump era when there were talk of, people were going to be protesting, they're storming the U.S. Capitol. People were thinking about this, especially the doomsday military militia preppers were like buying radio communications, the ham radios and things like that to prepare for this. I'd say we got closer, but not even that close. But if something were to happen, if the protests were rocking the nation and they said we want to shut it down because people were getting killed and stuff, they could pull that plug. I don't think we would ever see that in our lifetime, but who knows with things that are going on now. So internet shutdowns are a breach of basic human right as noted by the UN. So let's go back. Sorry for the back and forth here. I wanted to talk about Ukraine. So one part of Ukraine that I want to talk about was from the reading. They have this thing about this ghost airplane pilot who took down 20 fighters and this lore of it. And it was a sort of thing that wasn't verified. So it could be labeled as fake news. But there was a quote from the reading that says, if the Russians believe it, it brings fear. And if the Ukrainians believe it, it gives them hope. Is this any good? Do you agree with this? Or is this any different from the past? I don't think it's any different from the past because throughout folklore, all these heroes that we have, let's say Genghis Khan, Napoleon, they all had these larger than lifestyle myths that put fear in people's heart. Or even if you're on a sports team or something like that, you sort of like amp yourselves up. Like, we got this. We're going to come back from this deficit. We're going to win this game. You need something. People always need something to believe in and hope. And it's not really hurting anybody, this type of thing. It's not a form of that severe type of misinformation where people are getting killed or rioting or things like that. And it puts morale into, it puts fear in the enemy's heart and morale into the soldier's heart. So what do you guys think about that? The other thing when we talk about information shutdowns and breaches, we talk about how people could pull the plug and go back to Egypt, right? People would go buy SIM cards. So the equivalent of that today is Starlink. Starlink is started by Elon Musk company. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. The company's mentioned in here. And it's satellite internet service that could be used anywhere. It's interesting because one of my cousins in Puerto Rico, they bought a property in the middle of nowhere, and the internet service provider over there wanted to charge them like $100 a month. And they said, oh, we got Starlink and we got fast service. So there's Starlink satellite dishes and there's Starlink routers where you can get internet service from up above. And they're trying to compete with the major companies, Verizon, AT&T, and stuff like that. And we're going to see these companies get better and better. Google has something like this called Google Fi, and it's been gaining popularity and gaining better service and offers a cheaper price with more speed.
Ever since the launch of the first batch of Starlink satellites in 2018, SpaceX has made great progress in keeping up its promises and building a next-generation communications network. With now over 2,000 Starlink satellites covering the entire Earth, the commercialization process has begun. Ultimately, this would require SpaceX to have a different skill set, namely selling Starlink services to consumers. SpaceX at its core has been a hardware innovation company for the past 20 years since its founding, and now it's time to transition and improve its consumer-facing capabilities. Elon Musk is doing just fine selling Starlink by himself, but ultimately, for a company to succeed, it needs soldiers to man all positions such as sales, customer support.
All right, this is a fairly long video. I encourage everybody to please, this is a very insightful, non-biased video that talks about why Elon Musk might be doing what he's doing. So please watch this. The good and bad of it. But I don't want to show it to you with latency and all that stuff. So go watch it. Another thing when we talk about Starlink is that Elon Musk, he was donating them to Ukraine. And recently he said, I'm not paying for this anymore. The US government has to give me money. And then after all this backlash, he said, F it, we're just going to keep paying for it. So in 2016, going back to the shutdowns, Brazil shut down WhatsApp. They had a court order to shut down WhatsApp for 48 hours. It only lasted 13 hours. Now, for us in the US, especially people who don't have families from abroad, who cares WhatsApp? I mean, I have family here, and I'm Puerto Rican, Ecuadorian. I have family that are born here. They don't even have WhatsApp. If you're from overseas or have families from overseas, WhatsApp is how you make calls and how you text. A survey found in 2016 that 93% of people in Brazil use WhatsApp. They mainly use it to bypass expensive phone plans. So in some countries, you can buy a SIM card and a mobile plan where they literally have no minutes. All you have is unlimited data, which allows you to use WhatsApp unlimited calls. I've seen this as I went traveling and I went through the borders. You can buy different SIM cards. And the guy was like, oh, here's a plan for the rest of the month, $20. You can't make any calls, but you can use Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram. So a lot of people use this. They use it to call taxis, order food, order drinks, order services, make doctor's appointments. So it's a big thing when people don't have WhatsApp in other countries, as I mentioned in the previous class. So the reason why Brazil did this shutdown is they want to make it easier to search your phone and messages. And the internet companies are not playing ball with them. They want people to be secure in the fact that my messages are encrypted, my information is safe, and things like that. For the most part, when we're saying kind of like BS things, like it doesn't really matter. The government is not going to go after us, right? And look at our messages. But in other countries where times of protest, social upheaval, people who are fighting the regime, they are going to look at people and they're going to be moving. They can do like a broad search, whoever's protesting, and put them in jail to install fear in other people's hearts so they don't protest. But my thinking is, and I've seen this, and we've seen this before in other things, when one crucial service is what's the word I'm looking here, has been it's not the same or messed up, people are going to move to something else. So if people know that WhatsApp isn't reliable, that their data can be stolen and they can be liable for what they said in WhatsApp, they're just going to move to another thing. They're going to move to Signal. They're going to move to Telegram. So that's a lot of money that the company Facebook owns WhatsApp, Meta. They're not going to allow that to happen. They're going to fight these court orders and these laws. So one thing to consider when we talk about Meta, TikTok, and all these things is that we often think of these companies like a public service, right? They're helping us with communications need. They're helping us get our information, talk to our families, post pictures. You know, we're doing holiday things. Hey, everybody at Thanksgiving dinner. Hey, everybody on Easter Sunday. Look at our family from Florida or from California, so forth, blah, blah, blah. They're not doing, this is not for the greater good. They're companies and they're all doing it for profit. So one of the things from the movie and something somebody said was, if something is for free, you're the product. Our data is the product for these companies. All the information that we give them, all our demographics, everything like that. They use that to sell ads for us, and they make billions of dollars every year, maybe even monthly. So what happens when they shut down or sell our data? So from the movie, we think we are using social media when we share, when social media is using us to share our info. When we think we're searching Google, Google is searching us. How do they get their, how can they sell ads to us on other websites? How can they make their search rank even popular and things like that? How it works, they provide us a free service. They collect our data. They use our data to make money. For example, Google uses your search history to predict what you click and sell ads. Google tries to predict all your thoughts, your desires, your dreams, your friends, everything of your life. So I don't know if sometimes when you ever try to type Google and it predicts it right away, sometimes it's so spooky. It's like, are they listening to me? Are they hacking me? Like, how do they know that? It's because they're listening into your computer and what you use. And we think, okay, they're just on our computer. No, everything is connected. Our computer, our Gmail accounts are connected to our phones. Our WhatsApp is connected to our Facebook, which is connected somehow to your Gmail account. All these services are interconnected, especially in Facebook. Have you ever tried to use a website where it says just log in with Facebook? It's more of a way for your data to be taken in. And it's getting worse and worse with AI, which can predict and use our information and data in different ways. So deep learning within AI references when computers learn to function like a neural network of our brain. Sounds scary. It sounds like some Terminator stuff. But computers have had a hard time getting this, but lately there have been breakthroughs. In 2016, Google created a program that beat the world champion of Go. I never heard of this, an Asian board game with endless moves. It was a wake-up moment for China. When they realized this, they realized information and control of the internet and deep learning and AI is the future. It's the future of money. And so right now, there's more electric cars and things like that in China. They've caught up ever since this moment. They said we need to invest in digital technology and things like that. And they have surpassed us in their AI. In China, drones are making deliveries. I remember when I first started teaching at Rutgers in 2016, I taught a digital disruption and tech change. And they had this thing like Chipotle was going to be delivering burritos by drone to the campus. It never happened. What happened to that? In China, it's a reality. In China, you can go shopping and check out with your face. You don't even need your phone or your Apple Pay. So they're connecting more and more data and they're making the system better and better for good and bad uses. China has more people in the world for the following things. They're doing more of the following than anywhere in the world. There's more people in China doing bike sharing. They're renting the bikes with the app. They're having food deliveries, again, using an app to order food, making mobile payments, another app to pay. Every time these things happen and more data is collected, AI is making the systems better and better. It's learning more and more. Interesting enough, I wanted to show you guys, I should have thought about this when I put the lesson together, but it just came to me right now. It was something that happened recently. They put out an AI rapper. And Gunna was on this. These people created this AI rapper and it used an algorithm to scan the internet and the mobile charts and figure out which songs were the most popular. And it was just, it was so crazy, but they were gonna have a concert on it with a hologram and everything. But they said it was making fun of minorities and things like that. But if you actually listen to the song that it put out with Gunna, by the way, it sounded like all the trap music that's out today. You know, I got bands, I got women, you know, it was so similar and it was crazy, you know, like how it could pull that together. But when you listen to that type of music, they say the same things anyway. Okay, going back to China. In China, mobile surveillance can ID people who jaywalk and send them tickets. China is implementing a social credit system where you rank them. And apologies to the Chinese people, the Chinese students in the class. I'm not trying to say anything bad about the country. I'm just showing an example of where these things are going into effect. So if you ever watch Black Mirror, there's a very popular episode that came out before this about where this girl goes around and everything she does, she gets points. And if she has enough points, she can get access to a bar, she can get access to clothes. But when the rank goes down, she can't do certain things. And this is kind of a reality or becoming a reality in China.
They're constantly monitored by facial recognition cameras that are able to instantly put a face to a name. Now, the Chinese are also ranked, given a mark out of a possible 950 points. A score in the 700s is considered good. Around the 500 mark is not. For now, the number is a sort of bank credit rating, keeping track of everyone's spending habits.
I think being ranked is a good thing. A society has to have rules.
It forces us to be well behaved.
It may seem scary, but it's just like that here. We're used to it. And anyway, we don't have a choice.
It's like a credit score for your
In an
social
effort
ranking.
to keep all of its subjects in line, Beijing is taking the system a step further in 2020. It's aggregating data gathered by banks, private companies, and the state to rate if someone's a good or bad citizen.
By using the most data possible, the so-called big data, the system will play an important role in rebuilding a moral society.
The state will go over every detail of a person's life with a fine-tooth comb: the financial situation, spending habits, career, even behavior on social media. Criticizing the government online or displaying outward signs of wealth is a no-no. On the other hand, praising the party or giving blood increases your social credit. Xiao Wenwang is a model citizen. She lives in Nanjing, a testing ground for social ranking. Married with a child, she has a job in a retirement home, no debts, and she wouldn't dream of jaywalking.
As a good citizen, I respect the rules of the road. If I didn't, I'd lose points on my social credit.
In theory, everything can be taken into account in the social score, even the most innocuous errands like supermarket shopping. When Xiao Wenwang makes an electronic payment, her purchases tell the state a lot about her. Buying cigarettes would count against her. On the other hand, nappies show she's an attentive mother. Beer could indicate alcoholism. She'd be better off buying water. In this pilot,
so you can't drink because your score is going to go down. That system doesn't work for me. I can't smoke. You can see people who have alternate lifestyles would be ranked down, and that's not right. I'm gonna let you guys watch the rest of the video on your own. Pause this video, watch that video, and then come back to the lesson. So this has good and bad trade-offs, but currently, under this same system, China has moved 1 million minority Muslims, a Uyghur, to reduction camps. They're using this surveillance to determine who should be sent under national security, and it's a travesty. What they're doing, they're trying to sort of reformat people, if that's the way to say it, into not being Muslim, and to go for against their religion and their upbringing. And you can look more into it. It's a big sad thing they're trying to fight now. A lot of companies were using labor from these re-education camps, such as Nike and H&M, and they got in trouble and they disavowed that and stopped doing that. But you can see here, if certain types, think about the implications this has. Think about the implication it has now and how further it can grow into the future. If one type of government doesn't like another. For example, in India, they have a big problem with the Hindus are being anti-Muslim, even though they lived in coexistence for so long. You can see if that country were to adopt this policy, it would be disastrous. There's a lot of backlash in there, but since China is such a big government and has such big power, there's nothing that can really be done, sadly. So AI and tech has a possibility to better our society, but currently it's not aligning to the goals. So think about we have all the positive things that could happen with AI and tech, but it's being used for censorship and social control, and it's not being put to its best use now. I think one of the big things was, like I said, in 2016, when this stuff was first coming out, AI, we're going to have mobile drones delivering food, and Amazon, we're going to have those self-driving cars. We're still waiting for self-driving cars, and apparently they're not going to be out until the 10 years. I would love a self-driving car. Get stuck in traffic, I'll just go to sleep, play video games or watch YouTube, but it's not coming out. They need to fix the algorithm, and they're using it for other things and stuff like that. Hopefully one day in the future, big ambitious goals, right? Everybody will put the differences aside and work together to better society than using these things to bring us apart. I think that's the end for this lesson. All right. Thank you guys. Have a great week.